I'm Nathan Marshall, and today we're going to be talking about champagne. So Valentine's Day is right around the corner, which means that champagne questions and pairing and everything else is going to be coming out of the woodwork. Everybody's going to be trying to figure out what's the best thing to have it with and how they can work it into their meal. And for a lot of people, it's a pretty big wine purchase, so it's a pretty big deal. So I wanted to create a video that would kind of walk you guys through what I look for in a champagne. And then we're actually going to go pick out a bottle at the store and then put together some food to go with it and see how it all turns out. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. The number one thing that I'm looking for in a champagne, I should stop first. If your goal is to impress somebody with a name, this is probably not the video for you. Your best bet at $50 and under, if you want to impress somebody with a name who knows nothing about wine, apart from what they see on TV, is probably going to be like Clico. That's probably your best bet. It definitely has the name recognition and the staying power. That's probably what I'd go with. So, assuming that you're after a really great wine and the best value for money, Clico's not really good. They're not bad, but in terms of what you get, it's not amazing. Like, there's a lot better wines at that same price point, in my opinion, in champagne. So the number one thing that I'm looking for is I'm going to be looking for grower champagne. So on any champagne bottle, what you're going to see if you look at the label carefully, and it's going to be somewhere, it might be on the back, it might be on the front, it just depends, but somewhere they're required by French law to put on, there's going to be 2 letters and then a series of numbers. The numbers aren't really important. What you're looking for is the letters. The most common one is going to be NM, which stands for Négociant Manipulant. That's going to be all your major champagne houses, Moet, Clico, Heidsieck, all those kind of guys. Charles Heidsieck, I should say, I think. All those people are going to be négociants. And what that means and why that's significant is that it means that they're buying in grapes from other places. They're not producing, certainly in their non-vintage champagnes, they're not producing any grapes that really go into that. It's all grape juice that they're buying out from farmers and viticulturalists there in Champagne. So it is all real champagne, but it's not coming from them. So they then take all of those different crops and then they blend them and then blend up vintages in order to create a single house style. They don't represent good value for money in most cases. And the reason is that they spend so much on marketing to try to sell their wines and everything else that they're just a giant company is really what it comes down to. So you're gonna hear about them, they're gonna have reviews, they're gonna have all the stuff, they're gonna tick a lot of boxes for people, but they're not amazing wines for the price point. So I would avoid them, generally speaking. So when you're looking for that label to go back, you're gonna see NM, ignore that. You can see CM, which is Cooperative Manipulant, which is a group of farmers that come together and create a champagne with all of their grapes together. And those can be okay, but they're kind of hit or miss. And then there's the absolute crown that you are looking for, that I always look for, and that's RM, which stands for Récoltant Manipulant. Now that means it's a grower's champagne. So whoever grew those grapes is also the person that made that champagne. And so they're going to want it to represent the best of what they have to offer. And that's why it's such an amazing value in most cases. That's my biggest recommendation. Look on the label, look for the 2 letters and the code, and make sure the 2 letters are RM. Now it can be a little hard to find if you're just going to like a standard grocery store. If you're going to like a Kroger or a ShopRite or something, you're probably not going to see that. But certain specialty grocery stores will have it, and certainly for Valentine's Day, if you're going to spend close to $40 or $50 on a bottle of wine, maybe it's worth a trip to the actual wine store. That's what I would say. So, but yeah, those represent the best value for money. If you want to know a little more about it, there's a great documentary that kind of catalogs some of that stuff called A Year in Champagne. You can check it out. I think it's either on Netflix or Hulu or one of those. I can't remember. I just watched it again recently. But it kind of walks you through and it shows you, well, there's a first pressing versus a second, and this is what gets sold to champagne houses versus what they create their own house style with. So it kind of walks you through some of the basics of it. It helps you get a little understanding, a little better appreciation for why, generally speaking, you're getting a better product with a grower's champagne. So the other big tip before we go off on our little adventure together is, if you're going to be pairing it with something, don't pair it with dark chocolate, for God's sakes. It doesn't go great. I love dark chocolate. And if you're obsessed with it like I am, pair it with port, pair it with a red wine, do something like that. But don't pair it with champagne. It's just really not made for it. That being said, champagne is, apart from really, really like rich tannic things like that, It's a pretty good pairing with a lot of stuff. It's one of the few closer to universal pairings, along with like Beaujolais and Riesling, that really can pair with quite a bit. So if you're worried about serving it with your main meal and you're like, oh, well, I was going to do it with dessert because I really want to do champagne, don't worry. We can find plenty of stuff that'll work as an appetizer or main dish that it's going to pair with. So let's go see what we find. So I'm here and I found 4 that are grower champagnes. So we've got this guy, Charles Orban. This guy here, you can see right where that is, right there. And I think this was the other guy. Let me see. No, that's an NM, as you can see right there. So it'll be somewhere on their bottle. Here it is. Here's the other one. So this guy, but I think the one that we're gonna get, it's actually over here. It's not even in this section for some reason or another. This guy, and the big reason that I settled on this, so is because it is a grower's champagne, but it's also imported by Kermit Lynch, who's an amazing wine importer. So I think that's the one we're gonna get. All right, guys, well, I made it back. I'm gonna go ahead and get this chilled down, and then we're gonna get started on some food. All right, guys, everything's ready. So we're gonna start off with the wine and see how that is, and kind of go from there. So I actually decanted this in a sparkling wine decanter. I gave it about 20 minutes. I don't want to give it too much more because I still want to keep all my bubbles. But you can actually do that if you want a little extra flavor out of it. The other thing that is a really cool tip is I would abandon the flute. I know it's traditional, everybody's after it. It's either the flute or coupes that everyone's using, but I would actually go for this. This is a champagne glass from Riedel, but it's more or less the same as like a Riesling or a lot of white wine glasses. And what it does is it allows it to breathe a little more and pull in more of the aromatics, so you get a little more out of the wine. So pro tip, definitely go for these guys. Much better than the flute. So we're gonna give this a shot and see what we get out of it. I'm actually really excited for this. So yes, still definitely has all the bubbles, in case there's any question. Oh. I get some nice pear and peach, a little apple. It does have a little doughiness to it, which is kind of nice. And there's a hint of some, a tiny hint of some chalkiness, but nothing that's like explosive. We'll see how it does on the palate. Ooh. There's like apricot meat. So it's still definitely the pear and peach, little apricot, and the fruit is like really ripe in this. I'm kind of surprised. It has a tiny hint of some salinity, like a little bit of crushed rock, just a hint on the finish. It's really nice. This is really well balanced, very clean. There's some good acidity, but not too much. It's a very, very well balanced wine. Okay, so let's go take a look at the setup we have over here. So we've got a nice baguette. We've got these roasted mushrooms, which are going to be amazing. We've got an olive tapenade, which I actually just take a mix of olives from the olive bar at whatever store you're going to, chop them up, and then throw in a little avocado, and that's all I do. The avocado actually pairs with it really, really well. It sounds kind of weird, but it's actually really delicious. And I have some Brussels sprouts here, which are notoriously difficult, but often pop up as a side dish along with asparagus, so it's kind of good to know how to pair with them. And that really comes down to flavor balancing with that. That's one of Tim and I's big things, is being able to flavor balance. So what you really need to do is add a little salt, a little lemon, and then I add some tomato and a couple other spices, but more or less that's what that is. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna go for is the olive tapenade, which again sounds a little counterintuitive, but it works really, really well. The brininess of the olives and everything actually play well with the champagne and the fruit. It's a pretty good pairing. So let's take a taste and see. Yeah, that's a great pairing. That's a great combo. And we're going to try the same thing here with the mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I know, that goes well again. And then the hardest one is always, like I said, Brussels sprouts. It kind of gets a reputation for being bad at pairing, but it can go really, really well if you do the right balance of flavors when you're seasoning it. So this one's still really hot, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Yeah, that's a really good pairing actually. So there's a natural hint of bitterness to Brussels sprouts, and the fruit in this plays off that really well. So I hope it's been a fun day for you guys. I hope you get out, find a really good bottle, and get on with enjoying Valentine's. So we'll see you again soon with another video. Cheers.